Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. It was my birthday a week ago, and I received the shock of my life. That day, I reached the third floor, as many would call it. I turned 30. I got married really early. At 20, I was ready to be married, but we waited until I was 23. My wife is 3 years older than me. She was the one who asked that we wait until I turned 23 because for some reason she cared what people would think about me getting married to someone older than me when I was just 20 years old. I didn't care and still don't. I have never cared about what others think or say about me. I live my life and do what makes me happy as long as it doesn't affect anyone else. A mutual friend introduced me to her. She had thought it would just be a fling since both of us were heartbroken, so she brought us together to cheer us up. Our friend was surprised that we even went on a second date and kept seeing each other until we fell in love and wanted to get married. I do not care much about celebrating birthdays, but my wife always goes all out for me. My birthday is to reflect on the year and project for the new year. I set goals for myself and do everything I can to hit them. I'm a hard worker. That's why at 30, I have accomplished much in my life compared to many my age. I knew exactly what I wanted from the get-go. When I was a teen, some would say that I was too mature for my age. That happens when you lose your dad and have to man up and take care of everyone else, including your mom. Anyways, back to the story with my wife. I knew she had been planning something for me, but she was extra secretive and a little shady this time. It seemed more than just my celebration. Every time I felt that way, I brushed it off. Now I know that I should have followed my hunch. On my birthday, we had an early morning. We went to have breakfast at one of the spots I had been meaning to visit. It was warm, cozy, and romantic. After that, we went to the beach, had some fun, and then to the spa. But my wife said she had to go to the next place and that someone would pick me up from the resort to take me to the next destination. I had a great time at the spa. I hadn't been there in almost a year and my muscles were taut, so that was a very needed gift. Midway through, the masseuse whispers to my ear, saying I have a surprise waiting for me at home. I tried to find out exactly what it was, but he said he didn't know, and all he was asked to do was tell me just that. I got dressed and left immediately for our home. On reaching there, I was getting excited thinking of all the possibilities. My wife always outdid herself at every birthday, and the next was always better than the previous one. On getting there, it didn't seem like anything was happening until I entered our living room and saw my ex, Amy, with a little boy next to her that looked just like me. My heart sank. I realized she had been trying to reach me, but I blocked her because I thought she wanted to make me make the same mistake I made some years ago. I didn't know what to do and felt like running away or disappearing. I had no explanation and couldn't admit to the truth of what happened. So I decided I would lie until someone believed me. That was the stupidest idea ever. I denied knowing my ex and denied that the little boy looked like me. I could see the hurt on my wife's face and fear came over me. I didn't know how to own up to what I did years ago. What happened was that week, into our marriage, I had cold feet. Don't get me wrong, I love my wife with everything in me, but I was still anxious. What if I wasn't good at being a husband? What if I couldn't cater to her physical, emotional, and sexual needs? All those thoughts clouded my mind, and I thought of running away, but I knew that was just fear, and I couldn't hurt her like that. It was like the devil heard me and brought my ex. I had gone out one evening for some me time, and she was there. I wasn't stable at the time, and one thing led to another, and we slept with each other. I woke up feeling horrible. Horrible for what I had done to my then fiance, and horrible for giving my ex hope. She thought this meant we were back together. By my actions, I was breaking two hearts all at once, all in the name of cold feet. I explained that I was getting married in a week and that we had made a big mistake. I was sorry for putting her in the middle. She was sad, but she knew she had to let me go. We had agreed that we would not contact each other again after that. A month later, I noticed she kept trying to reach me, so I thought she wanted to get back together. I blocked her on every social media and restricted her from calling me. She called my sister a few times and asked that we meet up, but my sister told her I was now married and I didn't want anything to do with her. After a few weeks, I stopped hearing from her until now. I was panicking. My wife knew I was lying because I couldn't look her in the eye. Also, the boy was a replica of me. What happened was that she had somehow found my address and came to the house to find me. She had some financial issues and didn't want our child to suffer. She said she didn't mean to cause any havoc, mainly because that night was a mistake, but she was running out of options. I didn't know she was pregnant. If not, I could find some way to make it right, but it's been years. And this was a big blow. I never told my wife what happened a week before our marriage. I wish I did. I knew I should have, but I kept putting it off because of how happy we were, and I didn't want to spoil it. The longer you keep a secret, the harder it becomes to tell. Now, my past has come to haunt me. I love my wife too much. It hurts me to see that I have hurt her really badly. My wife took charge of the situation and said we would get a DNA test. And once the results came in and showed that I was the father, then we would take responsibility for him. After my ex left, I didn't know how to face my wife. Words had left me. What could I have said to ease the pain I could see in her eyes? She didn't say a word to me. She went into our room, freshened up to go out. I tried to get her to speak to me, but she ignored me. When my wife gets very upset like this, she is unpredictable and I can't tell what she's thinking. Her silence was killing me. I wanted her to say something to me, yell at me, and even beat me. I needed a reaction from her, but I got nothing. I tried to stop her from going out, but she glared at me and said, "Don't you dare." I stepped aside and let her go, but that was my mistake. It's been almost a week now, and I don't know where my wife is. Somebody help me. Update 4. I tried all her friends and family members. At first, I wanted to avoid calling everyone, so I only spoke to the closest people to us. I didn't want it to become public knowledge that the couple of the century were having issues. My wife's best friend finally opened up to me and told me she was at her apartment. She had made everyone promise that they wouldn't tell me where she was until she could put herself together. My wife's best friend told me I had done a number on her. She had never seen her friend this devastated. She knew my wife still loved me. I was so relieved to hear that. But I needed to make things right ASAP. I had planned with her best friend to get her place ready for me. My wife was in her guest room and didn't come out much, so she could set up the living area for me. I got my wife all her favorite things. I brought everything that reminded us of every significant milestone we had achieved as a couple. We have been through a lot these past years and always have overcome the issues. I hope we can go through this together and that I haven't broken our marriage. I'm supposed to see my wife tomorrow. We would find out if I still have a wife then. Thanks to my wife's best friend who prepared everything for me. It was easy because my wife didn't leave her room as we had predicted. She set the living area nicely with scented candles and dimmed the light. It made it a little romantic. I came with all my amour to convince her that we still belonged to each other and that our marriage could still work. We took a lot of pictures and videos, which helped. My wife's best friend went into her room to coax her to come out, and she was successful. I was on my knees, and once she came out, I cried because I could believe I had hurt her. Something I promised that I would never do. We both cried on our knees, and I hugged her. I told her how sorry I was and that it was a mistake I had made before we got married. And since then, it had never happened again. I told her that I was too scared to tell her when it happened, and the longer I went without telling her, it just became easier to leave it in the past. I'm so happy that she forgave me. I know that it may take some time for her to trust me again, but I would make sure she does. YTA. If I were your wife, I would divorce you straight away. You still lied when you saw that she had found out the truth. In my books, that's a no-no. YTA. But I'm glad you found a way to make it right. You are lucky your wife is the forgiving type. Plus, check your ex. I don't think money is why she came back into your life. She either wants to destroy your marriage, wants you back, or both. The opening sounds awful, I'm aware, but it's the only way I can phrase what's happened using a throwaway for this. My husband, 27, male, and I, 26, female, have a daughter, 6, together. She's the light of my life, and we both adore her. Now, I work a long job that eats up a lot of my time. This often causes missed weekends or long evenings while my husband is looking after her. While I'm gone, my husband sometimes has friends around for some company. This is fine by me as long as they don't do anything that would hinder his ability to care for our child, however. Being around our daughter's 4th birthday, there has been one friend in particular who always seems to be around. For the sake of clarity, I'll refer to her as Jen. Jen is a single woman who doesn't have kids. She works with my husband and they have been friends for a few years. I have no issue with this and strongly believe a man and woman can be friends, but my concerns do lie elsewhere. On several occasions, I have come home to find Jen and my daughter cuddling together on the sofa, watching TV, movies, etc. At first, I thought nothing of it, but now it's become constant. Jen started arriving on my days off to spend time with us, made jokes about being my daughter's nanny, and referred to me as an absent mother. I was appalled. I immediately told her to leave and explained she was no longer welcome in our home or with our child. My husband is annoyed that I kicked her out, calling me selfish, and that I was doing it out of guilt that she was right about what she said. It hurt to not have him see my side. I'm not speaking to him right now due to these comments, and I stand by my ban of Jen from our home, but his reaction has made me feel unreasonable. Thanks for all the advice. I really appreciate all your responses. Info. Just wanted to come here and clarify a few things based on what I've been seeing said. Firstly, I haven't always been so work-focused. Before I had my daughter, both me and my husband worked similar hours for similar money. However, when we started trying for a baby, we decided we would need to improve our financial situation. I was the more qualified in our relationship, so I was the one who moved careers. Upon having our daughter, it was clear that while we could afford childcare, it would make more sense for my husband to move to part-time while I remained the primary source of income. I've been working on reducing my hours, but due to my husband's reluctance to move to full-time, it's been difficult. My marriage has always been very important to me, and seeing so many people suggest that he may be cheating breaks my heart. The entire situation has brought a lot of strain to our relationship, and I feel like it's entirely my own doing. I appreciate the concern, but I could never imagine him doing anything to harm our family. Him not supporting me on the Jen issue is a first and was quite shocking and out of character. I plan on speaking to him about it as soon as he gets home tonight. My ban on Jen comes after many small remarks and actions that have made me uncomfortable, but after reading through your advice, I realize now that I didn't take my daughter into account. I will also be contacting Jen to try and work out a way for us to move forward with her instead of banning her completely. Thanks again. I can't even put into words how I am feeling currently. I don't know if it was a blessing or a curse, but due to the numerous comments saying this sounded like an unfaithful husband, I decided to trust but verify. I rang some people and just generally asked around. After receiving some shocking news, I asked my husband, who broke down and explained that he and Jen had previously gone behind my back late in my pregnancy and after our child's birth, only stopping due to his guilt. I'm stunned. I don't know what to do anymore. I feel like my family has been ruined. I've taken time off work to decide what I'm going to do. My husband suggested couples therapy, but I don't know if I can forgive him. My daughter is my priority right now. NTA. Regardless of Jen's relationship with your kid or your husband, she should have never made that comment, even if that's how she feels. She disrespected and insulted you in your own home. That's unacceptable. I think what's most concerning is your husband's reaction. It makes me feel like he's made those comments about you to Jen, or Jen has said it to him so many times he's starting to see her point. I think you need to talk to your husband. It seems like Jen is trying to become more than just friends with your husband. Her comments were aimed not only to degrade you as a mother, but also as a wife. She has been slowly trying to corrode your relationship from the inside out, based on how your husband chose to support her over you. While I agree that people of the opposite sex absolutely can foster close friendships, friends don't say those kind of things about someone's spouse. Your spouse should have put his foot down when she said that. NTA. My dad is not a warm man at all, and not a great dad, but he does make some effort with his own kids. He adores my mom, but really doesn't seem to give a shit about anyone else. He was never the warm, affectionate type, but he at least made some effort to know us. The issue is, I've been with my wife, Maddie, for 6 years, and he knows literally nothing about her. He has never tried to initiate a conversation with her beyond basic greetings, hasn't been very responsive when she talks to him, and basically after 6 years, they're still strangers. I'm not convinced my mom actually likes Maddie, but she still has basic small talk with her and asks her normal questions like, how is work going? What are you doing for your birthday? What are you into? Etc. Maddie has told me a few times my dad makes her uncomfortable with how little he interacts with her, and she feels he doesn't like her. I've explained it's nothing personal, but I've also been paying more attention to her interactions. We recently spent a weekend away with my parents, and he only spoke to Maddie once, and it was to ask what she wanted on her sandwich, and only because my mom sent him to ask. It also recently came to my attention that he doesn't even know her birthday. I confronted him, and he said he didn't marry Maddie, so what does it matter? I was pretty annoyed and said that it is weird and hurtful, I told him he needs to treat her like a human being and a family member. He said he is treating her like a human being and he doesn't want to talk to most of them either. I finally laid down a boundary that he cannot meet our son, due in January, until he shows some basic interest in Maddie. I explained that my wife is not an incubator and that unless he can treat her like a person, he can't be around her son. My dad rolled his eyes but said, okay. But my mom went crazy and said I was ruining the family and asked if this was really coming from me or Maddie. She said her own father-in-law knows nothing about her. Dumbest argument ever, as my dad has been no contact with him for decades. My siblings all agree and say I'm being crazy and should leave him alone. My mom actually told me Maddie isn't that special and we aren't entitled to my dad's interest. I'm going to go with NTA. There are mild but clear signs that your parents are not fans of your wife, from what you wrote. Maybe they're not overt a-holes to her, but downplaying, dismissing her very presence all the time isn't a decent way to treat someone, particularly someone who's never caused you any harm. I don't know what it is with these boomer parents that feel so entitled to a grandchild when they don't even have a good relationship with the parents. Good for you for standing up for your wife. She is not an incubator. They set the tone for the relationship by showing the least bit of interest in her. Why should that change now that there's suddenly a baby on the way? NTA, you are going about this wrong. There will never be a bond between your parents and Maddie. They made that clear. Go no contact with them and any others who defend them. There will never be any peace. Let them stew in their own juices and save yourself the grief of dealing with them.